she said she had guys like buying her things and like giving her things all the fucking time, you know. And she would never like try in bed. You know, she just, when girls are like that, when they get to that point, they get very like, I don't even know how to say it. Like they just don't think they have to try, because whether they try or not, you're still gonna want them. So why should I have to try then? You know, she just, when girls are like that, when they get to that point, they get very. Oh, That's me. That's me. Give me a second. There, bam. All right, cool.
Bad.
I had the live chat going, live hangout.
Well, I think from my experience, I would estimate, and this is probably like a conservative, something like 80% or even more of these starfishes, they just lie there. And when we spoke about the whole situation of some men pretending to women that they've come or whatever when they're having sex with these women, this is why I said no man should ever do that, because I've had a couple of women in the past that were quite stunning to look at, and when it came to sex, they were just awful. And I'll tell them, I'll say, listen, nah, this is not working out, you're shit. You need to do something. Sex might not be one of them, but don't ever believe that you are hot in bed. And they were so surprised. And I thought, why? You know, fuck. Like,
most guys won't tell them.
Yeah, most guys wouldn't. So you have a lot of these women that will constantly come back to you.
Yeah.
And they'll always want to please you.
Sometimes that'll make them come back too, and they'll try harder, and they're not any better, but at least they try next time.
Yeah.
You know, because they're actually trying to make you say that they're good, so they'll actually come back.
That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And that's why a lot of women, you know, they've got a lot of more men need to start really putting these women to task, not doing it in a negative way, but it's like,
they just need to put them in their place, you know, because a lot of these women have the idea that because they have a pussy, they're always good in bed, and they don't have to do anything. They can just lay there and be a cum dumpster, you know, and that'll be enough. You know, that's enough for you to think that they're good just because they allowed you a chance to get in the golden uterus.
I find all of that the way you've just worded it. I know this is how it is, but I even find that very problematic. Like, allowed you, it just gets my back up, because I just think to myself, you know, fuck that. Fuck that.
Here's the thing about the starfishing. Like, if a man who is attractive eventually is tired of a starfish, what the woman will do is just they'll keep going down in the level of attractiveness of the men they chase after. And they'll keep doing this until like they hit rock bottom, or to a point where they won't go past and they start working on their sex. Unless they're ugly, they're born ugly or something, then yeah, they'll work pretty hard in bed.
Yeah, I can concur with that. And what happens is, what I've also seen is that when these women, they get so desperate and so low, then they just start going for the dregs. And then what happens is, at some point in the back of their mind, I don't know if it's religion, I don't know what it is, this Tinkerbell syndrome, I don't know what the fuck it is, but in the back of their mind, they still think somehow you're going to see the glory in them and rescue them from the life of all of these dirtbags. And that's part of what Shi-Nu's saying. Like, you know, the guy, for some strange reason, these women think Mr. Perfect, if they see you as Mr. Perfect, that you're gonna come and save them. They actually think they're virtuous. They actually think they're worth saving.
Yeah. Well, I did a video on it the other day. It's because of all the movies that people are watching. There's all these girls that watch these love stories and these movies, and they think that that's actually what life is. It's that, you know, that some guy on a white horse is going to come and save them and rescue them from the tower. And they have this idea that that's what's going to happen, and it's not. It's never going to happen. But they get with people, and they stay with them for very short amounts of time because they can't stand to be with anyone else but themselves. You know, they have such a huge head and no empathy for anyone except for themselves, and they want only what they want. and if you're not going to give it to them, then they're going to monkey branch on to someone else that will, you know. And as soon as they get tired of you, then they monkey branch off to someone else again.
What you're describing is what I would call a cushion. It's not just a movie, it's also a family, especially the fathers. They build a cushion around their daughter. Like anything bad that happens, if the girl's caught lying, the father cushions her. If she spends too much of her allowance, she gets cushioned. If she wants something, she gets cushioned, and so on and so forth. And she expects that to continue for the rest of her life. Also, there's a male equivalent of that in movies called the manic pixie dream girl, where you get this spontaneous type of woman who has no goals of her own, who is just there to make a man's life better. This is, I don't get it. It's something that's sold to men in movies. Like you can look that up, but that's the male equivalent of what you're describing with the white knight. Really? Is it that hard? Okay.
Yeah, you were. Sounds like you were over at the refrigerator or something.
How much of that did you get?
About maybe half.
Okay, so you got the cushion part and the manic pixie dream girl.
The what?
The manic pixie dream girl.
Oh, the manic pixie dream girl. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the male equivalent of what you described for women in movies. That whole white knight, some guy coming in and yeah. So there is a little bit of both of them. Like
I think it's these girls. I think it's like Ego was saying, and I've done it before as well. I think more guys need to tell these girls like the truth. I think too many guys allow women to get away with so much shit because they're afraid to talk to them and be truthful. And women always have that thing where they say like men lie and men are not truthful and all this stuff. And I think that's why is a lot of men are white knighting and simping for these women and not telling them the truth. You need to just say, look, you're bad in bed. That's the truth. And you can try harder in bed or you can not, but it's up to you. So I think if more men started doing that, maybe these women would stop acting the way they are and try a little bit harder.
Yeah, because I believe that's the whole point of MGTOW. Because to a certain point, there has to be a level of equilibrium. The fact of the matter is that the tables have been largely skewed at the benefit of women. A lot of women don't know they don't know how they behave. They don't have anything to go by. All their life they've been trained or brought up to be a certain way, unless if you had a really ugly girl or a fat girl that has to put in more of the effort. So when I was younger, everyone knew that the chubby girls would go extra hard in bed, and it was like this all the time. They were happier. They seemed like maybe they didn't know the last time they were gonna get a cock in their hands, so they were more out there. But then what happens is that the normal girls, are the average or above average girls, they've never had to try to work, and the equilibrium has to be a lot more men have to tell them, because the way I look at it is, if you're not trying to have sex with her, why don't you be honest? Jesus Christ, I mean, she's not made out of cotton, dude. She's not made of a, bubble. She's not going to pop at any time, for crying out loud. They carry, children for 9 months. They have periods every month. They're quite resilient. Stop seeing them as these weak creatures. They're not fucking weak. If they want to, as we all know, if they want to dig their claws into you, they'll dig them hard. They'll fuck you for the rest of your life. But like a lot of these guys, they need to start setting the standard, start qualifying these women. If they don't fit your levels, if they're not like your grandparents' generation, your grandmother's generation, tell her to fuck off. I mean, it's simple, there's nothing bad about it. It's just like men have got to have standards, and this is the equilibrium. So a lot of guys in the MGTOW that go back and forth, going at other men, I mean, what the fuck's the point, dude? I mean, we've gone through hardship as men. Women have as well, but the ones that have this Cinderella syndrome, they've got to be the one, because they're the ones that are complaining when they are sort of when they're spinsters. They're the ones complaining. They're the ones that turn into these feminazis, trying to burn down every man they see. because men weren't telling them, listen, darling, your blowjob game is whack, it's terrible, behave yourself. If you don't, I'm sacking you. Simple, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, like some of the things that you know, women are like, oh, I'm not like that, whatever. How many stories have you ever heard of like a woman that likes cars and she was like, you know, a daughter. She didn't have any brothers, and the father taught her how to work on cars, and she had like a '66 Mustang that she fixed up with her father, and then she got married. And how many stories have you ever heard of the woman selling the car so they can buy a minivan? You know? And then think about the opposite of that. How many times have you heard a story of some guy that had a nice car that got with some girl that he had fixed this car up, maybe it was his car from high school, and he had fixed this car up and he'd had it for maybe 10 years. And then he gets with this girl and she makes him sell it because she's pregnant and she wants a house and she's got a kid on the way and they need a minivan and a house. So you need to sell your car so we can do this instead of, hey, how about we just buy the minivan and I just keep my car, you know? So how many times have you heard that story?
Millions.
Exactly.
Millions of times.
It only works for men, and women never think about that kind of stuff. It's never the same for women, you know, and that's equality. And they always talk about equality, but they don't want equality. They want superiority. You know, feminism is about superiority of sex, you know, of gender. They want the women to be lording over men, and they think right now they're living in this delusion in their head that men are lording over them, and they aren't. They're exactly where they want to be. Most women that aren't feminists don't want to be in charge. They just don't have the inclination. They would rather be at home taking care of kids. I mean, when you think about it, men are the only ones that really don't want to do that. That's very boring for most men to sit at home all day and take care of kids and watch TV and make dinner for their wife and stuff like that. Most guys don't want to do that. So they want to be out doing something. They want to be out working, and that's how human nature is. That's how we've evolved. Men want to go out and work, and women want to caretake. They want to stay home. And these feminist women are lying to women and trying to convince them that no, you actually want to go out and work. You want to be a scientist. You want to be in the military. You want to do something like that. You do, really, you know. And they're lying to these women, and these women actually get caught up in this and try. And they go out and try, and then they fail, and then they feel like they're failures. And then feminists will tell them, you're failing women by not being this kind of person that these women don't even want to be, you know. And it's really sad that they're actually fucking up women's lives, not making it better by being this way.
Yep. I agree with that.
Louis C.K. His daughter just described feminism perfectly. What she did one day. One day she was like, I was like, I want to eat this. There's not enough sauce on it, and then it's not cut up, so he cuts up the food or waffle or whatever. And then she sits there. She doesn't know what's left to complain about. So then she says, I don't know which one to eat first.
That's a woman. Yeah.
And she was like a toddler. I'm like, okay, this is just their nature. What the fuck?
Pretty much. Well, a lot of women are like that. They're just like, they feel like, I think it's because of the way they're grown up or the way they're raised or the way they're in school or something. They have this idea that they have to complain about everything. Nothing ever can be good enough, and that you always have to shit test men, and you have to shit test your friends, and you have to shit test everybody. And they always talk about how men are assholes, but they're the ones that are assholes. You know, when you're shit testing everybody like that, it's ridiculous. And that's the way they're raised and the way they grow up. That's the way they think life is. Let's just shit test everybody, and you know, that's the way life is just one big shit test. And then they wonder why people don't like them.
The thing is, what you said there, I agree with it wholeheartedly, because I found a lot of women that actually do not know what they do. and I have a few, like the female that I had in my video. She's actually, she's one of the women that I know that she's constantly being told about herself, and that's why we have a very good relationship, other females, because what happens is the level of shit testing that these women do, it's astronomical, and this is why, yet again, I'll say, a lot of men shouldn't do fuck all for women. Every time I've been in a great relationship, the more I didn't see the woman, the more I was aloof. I didn't buy them anything. They will constantly bring me stuff, holiday money, whatever the hell it is. They seem to respond to that because they saw great qualities of mine. I was always working, always had money. But the fact of the matter is, it was before I even knew the term, shit testing was. But I just saw all the time there was just a high level of manipulation, a total high level. And women don't see this. Another one of my female friends that I've actually done a series with, she's married with children. When I did this recent video about shit testing women, she couldn't actually believe that women do this, and she wanted to know more. And she actually had a friend, because she went back home recently, and one of her friends, the first boyfriend she ever dated, she says is a handsome guy and he's not married at the moment. And she asked him, because she started talking to me, she started saying this guy shows a lot of truth, and he always shows me that even female friends are fucked up. And basically she asked him, how come you haven't found a woman? He said the woman that he did found, because she's Indian, but she was born in South Africa. So what happened was, they stay at home a lot of the time. So if the son has a wife, the wife moves in and the parents are still there. But this particular woman didn't want to live with the parents, and they had a bit of money. So he went and bought a condo by the beach. So he was by the beach, and he realized that that's what she wanted, but she kept complaining about it. So it was her birthday. So what he did was he made her breakfast in bed. He brought it to her, and she got up and she whacked the food out of his hand and said, "Why did you wake me up? I'm tired." Then she leaves, spends time with her mother, and then that's the point that he told her to fuck off, no more. And this is what I mean. The more men go out of their way to do for women, the more these women don't respect them. It's like,
yep.
I mean, forget about chivalry, dude. I mean, every guy is nothing negative. Forget about chivalry. We're not in a time of chivalry.
I've been married 4 times, and that was something I learned a long time ago. Is never this is what sucks about being married, being with a woman. You can never let them get the upper hand, because they'll never give up. This is what women are constantly trying to make you subservient to them. And you can go through life and do whatever the fuck you want in a relationship, as long as you never let them get the upper hand. If you're sitting in like at the table with them or something, they'll do something as simple as ask you to go get something for them when they can do it themselves. And all they want to do is get you to start doing things for them, and they work on you little by little. And you have to constantly be aware that this is what's going on, because they'll eventually train you to where all they have to do is say, "Oh, I'd like to have some ice cream." And then you just get in the car and go buy ice cream. And then by the time you're back with the ice cream, you're like, "Oh, that was fucked up. I didn't even want ice cream." And that's basically what they do. They train you. And you have to be constantly aware that that is a shit test. They're trying to train you up to be basically a utility to them. That they want you to do what you're told. And they want to use you. What you're told is to work, make money, and give everything I want, and fuck what you want. And that's a relationship with a woman. If they want a new pair of shoes, they'll walk down in the mall and they'll see some pair of shoes that are in the window that they seen last week when you were at work and they were at home and they went out to the mall, and they'll just walk by the window and go, "Oh, I really love those pairs of shoes." Oh, they won't tell you they seen them last week, but what they are saying is, "Go buy me those fucking pair of shoes." And lots of guys will go, "Oh, I want to keep her happy, so I'm going to go buy her those shoes." And they're like, "Well, let's go in and get them," And a lot of guys get that way, and they don't realize that a woman is shit testing you. That's what they're doing. They want to get you to that point so that when they get married, they've got you all trained up. And all they have to do is say, I want to live in a bigger house. I want to move to a different town. I want a nicer car. I want to do this. And you're just going to keep working harder and harder to give them what they want. And in the end, 60 years down the road, you're going to realize you didn't get anything that you wanted.
It's very fascinating, and a lot of guys that haven't experienced that, I've seen other people go through that. They're gonna think everything's fucking rosy. They're gonna think it's all rosy. I've never met a man that's married to ever tell me he's happy. Never in my whole fucking life. I just had a friend of mine. He's married. He's in his 50s. As soon as I went round to see him the other day, just on about his missus. Oh, she keep, oh, do this, do that, Ray. Do this, Ray. Do that, Ray. Whilst he was building a tree house for his grandchildren, because 2 of his sons just had children now. And even before I went to see him, I went to see one of his sons, and he extended the house. The kitchen looks awesome. He's got a gym that he does business out of at the back, and it's like the missus just had a baby, and you know she's fine and everything, but she's carrying the baby, and I know she wasn't doing any house building work. I know that for a fact. But it all looks tickety-boo right now. It all looks fine right now. But you're right. Women chip away at you. They are relentless. They are built for that life. This is why most men shouldn't be around. Anytime there's a group of women, I don't go there. I don't fraternize with them. I don't talk to them. Because I know that.
Well, I think it's all right to go to them, but this is the thing. You have to have the red pill MGTOW mindset, because you need to know what's going to go on. When you walk into a group of women, if you don't know what this is, and you don't know anything about what we're talking about, you'll think you'll just be taken advantage of. You know, these women will just use you and convince you that they're all the women in the little group circle are all in the waltz. And when they realize you're a guy that's been trained up by some other woman, they'll be fighting over getting you because they want another ATM machine.
Now, the reason why I say I don't bother to go around them, because the evidence is, there's too much of a preponderance of evidence that I've amassed over the years. What these women will do, especially because in every group of women, all you're going to find is feminazis or feminazis in training, whatever age they are. So what will happen is, like, whenever I go somewhere, I'm the guy that everyone wants to come to. They want to run a idea part. They want to get my take on something. Now, the way I look at it is, now we're at an age where we should all know what's right and what's wrong. So I'm not going to waste my time in going somewhere where I know that it's feminazis, and these people are going to want to engage me. And I just know it's not like, to me, it does nothing to, you know, decimate a group of women. I've been doing it all my life, but it's like, it's got to the point where they think they know what they know, but say that whilst you're looking in the mirror, realizing that you're a spinster. Because if you were so correct about men, if you were so right about men of this, men of that, how comes you're single? How comes you're not a lesbian? You still want a guy, but yet again you're alone. How comes your best friend is a cat? How comes, you know, you spend your weekends eating cheese crackers and sipping wine, watching these fucked up programs about fucked up women, but yet again they don't see the contradictions. So it's a situation where I've stopped, because it's just a waste of time. And you know, a lot of these feminists or whatever, they just want to get into a conversation with you, into an argument. They want you to verbally spank them so you can go and fuck them later on. Fuck that. That's boring.
Yeah, it's not worth my time.
Huh?
It's not worth my time doing that. My second wife was like that. I had a Spanish wife, and I was with her for almost 4 years, and that was that was what I was telling her in the end. She didn't understand. She had been married before me, and that's how she was, and she thought that was fine. And I was like, no, you've got a psychological problem, because you want to get in a fight with me and then after we have a fight, you want to fuck me, and I don't want to fuck you when I'm mad at you, and I don't think that that's sexually, I don't think that's fun, and you're like wanting to fuck me when you're mad, and I don't see why you want to do that. A lot of women get that way. That's something that women like to do. Is a lot of women, I don't know why, but they have this mind where they want to especially once they've been with you for a while, when the sex starts to get boring, I think, is when it starts to get mundane and old, they'll try to fight with you all the time. And a lot of guys get into this. I'm actually working on a video right now about talking about abuse in marriages towards men, and how this is basically what it is. This is abuse. A lot of women don't look at it that way. But when you're telling a man that he's not good enough, that, I really love this guy that I'm with, but I would love him more if he just did this, and if he just did that, and if he bought me this, and if he just did this, and if he just did this, and it never stops. It's always something more. They always want something more, and then eventually one day they tell you, you're not the guy I married, you're not the guy I started dating, you're not the same person, I don't love you anymore, and it's because they've changed you, and now they have you all fucked up, and now you're going to go off and try to find some other girl, and all the other girls are going to think you're shitty too, because this woman has trained you up to be somebody that they don't want either, and then all the women are saying men are fucked up and men are bad and all this shit, and it's because women are training you to be that way, because women don't know what they want. They never have known. So when they train you up to be something that they think they want, and then realize in the end they didn't want that, now they've trained you to do something that no other woman wants either.
And this is why I have a theory, and it goes like this. Every man and every woman is Mr. and Mrs. Perfect until you start cohabitating with the individual.
Yep.
Because what it is I've said this to women many times. I said, listen, I am a unicorn. I know this, but I'm only a unicorn because I'm not living with you. As soon as I start living with you, you're going to see that my expectations are too high, and you're going to see that you can't achieve those expectations. Then I'm going to see that you're nothing more than just a normal woman. So we're going to end up, well, someone's going to get murdered, and it's not going to be me. And this is part and parcel of it. And another thing is, when you were talking about these women getting excited with sex, I've tried this out so many times. Anytime you get a woman upset, you get her raring to go, she always gets moist. She always gets wet. It's weird. It's something. It's tied into their psyche, into their makeup. I've done it so many times. And the girl, she's wound up. The woman, she's wound up. And the next thing you know, she's just like salivating downstairs, and she wants you to equalize her because it's a bit of fun. And if you heard a couple of videos I did last, when I was talking to my friend about women being dominated by men, that's what she said. If she had to take lovemaking over fucking, she would choose the latter. They will always choose, because she said it's exciting. It's boring, isn't it? To have mediocreness is boring. And a lot of men can't do it. This is why a lot of men can't stand up to be Dorian Gray. They can't be Dorian Gray because the average guy just wants to get home, put on his slippers, and have a cheeky blowjob from his wife. Nothing else. The rest of it is too much.
Yeah.
That's loud.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. There went that.
So I think you better start off the thing now, Shi-Nu, because we've been going on for a bit.
Yeah.
What the? I ignored that person just now.
I kind of came in late to the call.
Yeah.
We haven't even started, really. Shi-Nu hasn't, you know.
Yeah. Well.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Some of the stuff we're going to be talking about at the moment is something that I've seen. We'll talk about like you guys. I know. Ego remembers Hermine. She was talking in one of the hangouts about 2 days ago about me, saying that.
Oh, really?
Saying that I was a transgender, and I was in the male rights movement and into the MGTOW, and that all the MGTOWs are just crazy, and that they're all just a bunch of loonies because they think, you know, they equate the MGTOW movement with women hating. They don't understand that, like, it's actually not woman hating. It's like man, like I wouldn't say loving, but it's basically for men. You know, men have decided that instead of being a utility, instead of being something like that, they're going to go off and just be on their own, and that pisses women off because in their mind, the best kind of men are the ones that don't want anything to do with them. If they go into a bar and some guy looks like he doesn't want anything to do with them, that's going to be the first guy that they'll go up to because they want a challenge. So this is what they end up being, you know. And what ends up happening is what we were talking about earlier. But you know, these women are like, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to. Okay. Yeah, the women are, you know, they're coming on with this DeWalt argument basically, where they're saying, you know, you're just hurt. You were just hurt. You know, that's why you're having trouble. You know, that's why you're wanting to be a MGTOW or whatever, because you were hurt by a woman. And I get this all the time on my page. Every time I do a video, some woman will come on there and like I'm sorry you were so hurt by a woman, you know, because they're trying to put on that they don't want anything, they're not like that, they don't want to use you, blah blah blah. But eventually they will, and they always do. And women will always convince men because they know you can be convinced, because if you're not being able to be convinced, they'll throw their pussy, they'll throw that golden uterus at you, and then as soon as they've done that, then they can hook you. They think they can catfish you, and they can get you on the line, so they can do that.
I think of this moment as in more in terms of men coaching.
Yeah, I think what it is men that have more experience with women and more experience with relationships, trying to tell men that are younger, that are in their 20s or even teens, to watch out. Don't get hung up on these women, because if you do, this is going to happen to you. You know, to watch yourself. You know.
I think that's a very fair thing to do, and it's not really woman hating, because as I was growing up, there were so many older women telling younger women, "Hey, you can't trust men. Men are evil. They're just perverts, and they'll leave you." Like that was the thing they told every woman that I found out. They're like, when a man does this, like, he fucks you, and then he's going to leave you every time, guaranteed. I'm like, why the fuck would I do that? Why the fuck would any man just up and leave for no reason?
Exactly.
It's like this. It's like saying every woman's going to divorce you. That's not true. For all women, there may be some that won't. Not every woman's going to cheat on you. They're not. Or all of them. They're all going to shit test you, yes. But
yeah,
they're not all terrible people. And so, what it is, I think it's like, I don't know. There's so much hate directed towards men as far as their nature, and not, first of all, not all men are evil. And the fact that every man is bad thing, you have a natural tendency to be a complete asshole. Richard, I'm going to mute you. That shit is loud. Natural tendency. Oh, sorry. What was that, Eagle? My sound? It's not my sound.
Yeah, you've got to keep it constant, because you're dropping in and out. You're saying some great stuff, but It's coming in and out.
Really? Huh. I don't know if it's my connection or what.
I don't think your sound sounds okay to me.
Yeah, the level sounds perfect now.
Okay. So it's like all men are taught that by nature they are evil, and every other man is somehow evil and will just leave women, use them, lie to them. And the thing is, while it is true some of the time, it's not true all of the time. And none of that is seen as hating men. When older women tell younger women to be afraid of men, to how to say no, never teaching them how to say yes. And the thing is, the moment men, like older men, decide to teach younger men, listen, there are some women you should be afraid of, you should avoid with these traits. Not all women are like goddesses. All of a sudden, that's seen as hating women. Which
it's kind of parallel to the old thing with if you see a man with someone else's kids or something, then he must be like a pervert or something like that, a rapist or something like that. Yeah. It's kind of a malicious picture on that end as well.
Yeah, they do that all the time. I used to take my kids everywhere, and my wife was a nurse here in Japan, and I exported cars. And you never get it here in Japan, but in America you would. If I was walking around with a stroller and just my kid, most women would, especially older women, look at that as creepy. You're creepy because you're trying to be a father to your child. Now, that's just creepy for a man to want to be a child to his kids.
That's just weird if it's your own kids. If people think like that.
Yeah, and most women do. I think what it is a lot of the older women. I see this a lot. Like a lot of women when they're younger, they think they're pretty. They think that they've got something that men want, and then they hit the wall, and then eventually men stop complimenting them on their boobs and on their ass and on their hair and on their eyes and things like that, and they stop being something that men want. They stop being something that men sought, that they try to get. And you can tell this when women start having less and less younger men chasing after them, and they start to realize they've lost everything. And when they get to that point, they start to they start to act kind of like an asshole, like bitchy, and they turn into this kind of like what I always talk about, androphobic. They turn into where they're a man hater and they're scared of men, and they start telling younger women to be this way because this is how all men are, and it's not the case. And what it is they're just over the hill, they've hit the wall, and they're mad because now they can't act like they did when they were in their 20s and turn down every guy that comes up to them because they don't find them attractive, or because they have so many guys that want to fuck them, they don't want anything to do with them. And now they don't have anybody that wants them, and maybe they just have their husband, and he doesn't even want them anymore, and they have sex like once every 6 months or something, and maybe once a year on her birthday she gets laid, and she's pissed off about it, So now she starts to decide to tell all of her friends' kids, and every time she sees a young kid in her job or something like that, she decides to tell them that all men are evil and all men are awful and they're all creepy and they want nothing but sex except for her husband, which only fucks her once every 6 months. And that's basically where a lot of this comes from. It comes from old bitter hags that have hit the wall that want to convince younger women that all men are bad.
And that's extremely dangerous for one of many reasons, because you can see right there that there's not like a analysis of what's actually going on. So it's like the older guys that I sort of spent time with when I used to work and everything, the looks on their face, I used to sort of test them and say, so when next you're going to be like bending the missus over? And the look of horror on these guys' faces. No, I don't. I'm not, and I'm thinking because I ask certain questions just to see the sort of mind frame of individuals, because I know this whole marriage paradigm was bullshit from the get-go. Then I studied it and researched it, but just to see the expression on men, because women will never give you an accurate diagnosis of what's going on, and this is why a lot of women, when you speak to them, you will think that everything's all right, just like your buddy Hemin or whatever her name is, you will think that everything's all right, because when you're speaking to her, she's speaking concisely, she's using nice words, she seems logical. This is the fact of the matter. Most women seem logical and fine until you start having sexual intercourse with them. Then you start finding out that, oh my fucking God, this wasn't worth it. It doesn't matter how hot the woman is. This is why I tell a lot of guys, if you're going to play with these women, know that it's a dangerous game. Know that you have some sort of a death wish. But therefore, if you're going to proceed forwards, just make sure, number one, she doesn't know where you live. Number two, from the get-go, you tell her you're some sort of a pauper. Number three, when you have sex with a woman, always make sure the condom is intact before and after. You take the contents of your condom away from you, put it down the drain or whatever, but you don't, and this is the level. And this is the level, and there's nothing bad in saying that, because it's not a negative thing towards women. It's because women, as I've agreed with Shi-Nu, they were never taught of these different dynamics when they were younger. So they've just grown up having this, princess Polly idea. They don't know anything else. He's supposed to do this for me. If he doesn't do it for me, then there's something wrong with him. They never ever think about what am I doing as a woman to better myself and better this guy's life. It's always the other way around. It's for the worker bees to bring me the goods while I sit here and look pretty. And when they hit 30, 40, 50, they're all going to be sphinxes. Why? Because they were riding that cock carousel.
Yeah.
And they never appreciated men. So, I mean, these other women can say whatever they want. It doesn't change the facts. It doesn't change the facts that more and more men are starting to talk to each other about the pitfalls of getting involved with manipulative women. Not all women are manipulative to start off with, but eventually they'll start to, the more time you give them. And that's just how it is. I mean, nothing bad, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I'd sometimes question the foundation that, a lot of women base their personality off, especially like really beautiful women. I mean, they pretty much get everything they point at all the time. I mean, as they get older and, beauty fades, I mean, they don't got anything else.
They haven't.
I think it's that the stable foundation is just not there.
And what happens is, what I've noticed is that the same sentiments a lot of these women chime. So you can be talking to a woman your age. All of a sudden she'll say to you, oh, so what are you going to do in the future when you're alone? Just thinking to yourself, wait a minute, there's so many examples of well-to-do guys in their 50s and 60s living a happy life. For crying out loud, you can have someone in their 60s impregnating a 20-year-old. He doesn't give a damn, he's still a bachelor. But I know that these women petrified because they know they haven't done enough, or they haven't got enough to give a man that will find them worthy. But what makes me laugh is when other men come and talk to you about this stuff. Oh, are you going to be sad and alone? You better get married now. You better. And you think to yourself, dude, if you want to get married, dude, no problem. No problem. If I've got 4 or 5 women that I'm sleeping with at one time, I'm not complaining. They're not complaining. But you'll be complaining when you're with that one woman and she's running you through the mills. She's taking you for what you've got, abusing you, sexually harassing you, dogging you in front of her family. Then we'll see what you're saying then. It's amazing.
Or if those men who have turned to complete lapdogs just get run through by their wife and talk to you like a child. That's one of the most sad things ever.
Yeah, you always see those guys like that. It's really sad. I've been married before, and two of the reasons why my marriages didn't work out is the problem that we've talked about already, ego with the the sexual problem. But then the other is that I wouldn't be trained. I never changed. I never let them train me. I always knew they were shit testing me, and I kept them in check. And then they would say, "You never fight with me. You don't love me." They would say shit like that. Because if you don't fight with her when she fights with you over stupid shit, then you don't love her. because you're not willing to fight for us. That's what she says. That's what women will say. You're not willing to fight for us, so you don't love me. And it's like, well, no, I'm willing to fight for us if there's something to fight for, but you're fighting over like toilet paper and like a spoon left on the cabinet and like the trash not being taken out and like silly shit. Everything is a fucking fight, and you're constantly fighting for no reason. It's just stupid shit, you know?
It's like a constant shit test.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is with a relationship, and that is abuse. Women don't see how that is abuse. That is being abusive to your husband or your boyfriend. If you're doing that, constantly shit testing them, and they're constantly having to worry about what you're doing, that's a shit test. And you're doing that to fuck with them.
I don't know. I think a lot of women are addicted to that drama for excitement.
I think some of them, that's the only way they can get sexual gratification. They have to have that. They feel that need to stand over a man, to lord over a man, and they know that physically they can't really do it. You know, because men are always going to be stronger than them, and if they step out of place too much, a guy's probably going to punch him in the face. So the only way they can get an upper hand is to constantly nitpick at you and get you, basically browbeat you into submission, and that's what women want to do, you know. And when women will say like not all women are like that, I've never met a woman that's not like that. Eventually, all women are like that, no matter what. You will eventually get with every woman you have, she will turn that way, and I'll guarantee it within a year. Most women end up like that. They want to browbeat you. They want to train you. They get tired of something that you're doing or something that they thought was cute when they first met you.
Look, my sister, as I said before, she's a doctor. Academically, she's brilliant. I used to tell her these things. Look, I used to tell her these things that, listen, you might be smart, you might be intelligent, but you're just like every other woman. She didn't want to listen. But she'd gone into a relationship with a guy. I think she's more like me, very sort of like, you know, analytical, and she'll, you know, but I told her, you're dealing with a man. You can't give a man ultimatums. If a guy's got options, if a guy's got other women interested in him, you can't give the guy ultimatums. It's going to blow up in your face. She didn't realize this. So anyway, she's level-headed. All of a sudden, he broke up with her, and she started spazzing, getting all emotional. But after the whole thing, because I wouldn't give her any sort of like comfort, because I said, look, I told you, you want to play with the big boys, you're going to get hurt. So anyway, after the whole scenario finished, she said to me, I can't believe it. I actually thought I wasn't like that. But I started getting all emotional. I was doing some crazy shit. And I said to her, you see, I told you. So I'm 101%. All women are like that. All women are like that. And the men that are not like that, you know, what these women say, are the ones that haven't been indoctrinated under the golden uterus regime. Because the guys that were, you know, four of us were having a conversation now, we agree on certain things, we might disagree on other things. But what it is we're not going to now come out like sort of manginas or Captain Saberhose and try to, like, you know, muddy the water. But the guys or the people that do demonstrate those sort of traits are the guys that have come under the tutelage of the golden uterus. They've been completely mind-fucked. This is why I've said to Shi-Nu and I've said to Richard before that I don't really get into conversations with these people because life hasn't taught them a lesson yet, and I'm not their enemy. So there's no point of me spending my time to try to logically or even use their emotional pull strings on them for them to see the thing. Life will eventually get you, and when life gets you, you're going to be there on your own, wishing that you would have listened. There's no safe spaces. There is no such thing as a safe space for a man, and this is what a lot of men have got to realize. You've got to roll your sleeves up. You've got to be ready to fight dirty, because these women, woo, they can fight dirty, but the vaginas behind them, the Captain Saberhose, all of these people around them, They will put you through the ringer, and you've got to be tough. You've got to know that, look, I haven't done anything wrong. These people think I'm like this. Well, fuck what they think. Who gives a fuck what they've got to think about you? This is how a lot of guys have got to be now. Because it's emotionally, if you turn on yourself, it's over. It's over.
I mean, if you don't have a support network as a man and you fall out of favor, there's like no help for you as well. There's no men's shelters or anything like that either.
Well, I'm sure you guys, I know Ego's heard of it. The first woman to ever make a woman's shelter, or not a woman's shelter, but the first woman to ever make a man's shelter was in Britain. And when she tried to do it, they ran her out of town.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't want, because feminists feel that if you try to do that, you're villainizing women. That you're trying to say that women are bad. And even though you're saying some women are bad and some men need to be protected from women, that in itself is a problematic statement, because they have it in their mind that no women are bad. All women are good, all men are bad, and if that was allowed to happen, then there would be, they would have to concede that some women are bad. Therefore, what MGTOWs are saying and men's rights activists and other people are saying, maybe it's right, because some women are bad. So they never want to give up that. They never want to concede to that point. And a woman would walk through broken glass to not have to say that they're wrong. That's one thing you'll never have a woman tell you, is that they're wrong or that they did anything wrong. But they will drag you through broken glass until you say you're wrong. You know?
And you think to yourself, like, you know, I've spoken to many of these women. They'll say, oh, all men are dogs, all men are bastards, all men are going to cheat. So I said, so why are you trying to be in a relationship with one? If you say all men are bastards, all men are dogs, all men are going to cheat, then the guy that you're with now, you've already sabotaged the relationship. Don't even bother. And what happens is there's a blank expression on their face. And when I see this blank expression, I know that these women are just chiming sentiments of something they have no idea about. But physically, they will fuck up this guy's life, and they will blame the guy for it as well. They will always blame, and we know this already. But so a lot of guys that think that what we're saying is negative or not, they've got to reevaluate their stance. Like, I'm not trying to take you to court to get your future earnings. I'm not trying to get you to impregnate me. I'm not trying to get your friend to kill you over me. I'm not trying to find out how much money your parents have so I can have a life with Riley. I'm not doing anything physically to threaten your life. So why then would you come at me verbally or physically? It makes no fucking sense. And this is proof as well that a lot of these guys are under the hypnosis of the golden uterus. And it's dangerous. To them, not to me. I don't give a fuck. But to them, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, but that is what's kind of dangerous for us, because that's why we get hit on so much. That's why so many women want us, because women have this idea that it's kind of like we're the last kind of like trainers. Like, we haven't been trained yet. So it's kind of like, I like to build hot rods and classic cars, and it's kind of like when you're walking through a junkyard and you see an unmolested car, you know, or you find some guy's car that was in a garage and it's been sitting there for 30 years and no kid ever had it, and it's still original. It's still the original motor, original transmission, original interior. They didn't put any aftermarket rims on it or anything, and you can start fresh, and you can take it from where it was originally, and you can either restore it completely originally, or you can do what you want to it, and you don't have to correct a bunch of other people's bullshit. And that's what women are looking for. They're looking for that golden unicorn, and that's what they're looking for when they find guys like me and you. They're thinking like, oh, he hasn't been trained. I can train him. I can make him be what I want. You know? And that's what's really fucked up about women's mentality, is that's what they're thinking when they find a guy. They're thinking they can train you. you're like a dog to them. You're not a human. You're something that they can train. They can use these as a utility, and they can get as much out of you as they can. They can suck you dry, and then they can send you off on your merry way while they monkey branch onto someone else.
Yeah, that kind of hits home sometimes, especially when I've read about like family court issues in the U.S. I don't know how it is in the UK though. How the system works there. If it's similar to the U.S.
Dude. And look, anything from the.
Well, did you hear? I don't know if you heard Nadia, but this is what's really funny is like the feminists will completely dismiss stuff, and that's what she is. She's a feminist. It's fucking hilarious. She said, well, actually, feminists want to completely get rid of marriage, so they're trying to blame it all on feminists, that it's a feminist problem, but actually that's problematic because feminists actually want to get rid of marriage completely. So that just completely negates the fact that feminists for years and years petitioned courts to allow them to get custody of men and to get like lifetime child support if you live in Florida, so or lifetime alimony, where you're paying a woman for the rest of your life because you were married to her for 5 years just because you live in Florida. That these aren't problematic because actually feminists want to get rid of marriage. And although we haven't got rid of marriage now, and it is a problem for men, we should just overlook at it because feminists don't actually want to do any of that stuff. They actually just want to get rid of marriage. So let's just look the other way and act like it's not a problem. And that's what this, girl is talking about. That's what Nadia was talking about. She was acting like. She kept saying that, like, well, these guys actually think that it's a problem and that women are up to get them, and that all these men's rights people are talking about feminists being against them and wanting to take their rights in courts and all this stuff. But actually that's kind of problematic because really feminists want to get rid of marriage completely. And I'm like, well, yeah, that may be true, but they're not ever going to get rid of marriage right now, and they have made laws that make it easier for women to steal the children, to take the house, to get paid, to sit on their ass for the rest of their lives while they fuck some black guy. This is all true and logical to them, yet it's not a problem because they want to someday get rid of marriage, which is never going to happen. So they come up with these silly little things in their head to make it seem like they're a victim somehow. I can't stand this shit. It pisses me off.
How are feminists trying to get rid of marriage? Like, on what basis? Like, why does Nadia do? I don't think feminists want to get rid of marriage. I think they want to establish marriage is men's responsibility, and it's designed to fuck over men and all men's fault.
Yeah. Well, when have you ever heard? In my entire life, I've been with hundreds and hundreds of women. When have you ever heard a woman say that the sexual relationship, in something in the sexual relationship, was their fault? When you're having sex with a woman and something goes wrong, or she doesn't come, or she doesn't get wet, or she didn't have a good time, or you didn't have a good time, or something.
Virgins.
It's always your fault.
Unless she's a virgin. Noah's like, am I doing a good job?
Yeah, that's the only time, yeah. But it's always a man's fault. It will. I've never been with a woman yet where it's never been a man's fault. It's when you talk to a woman that's married, or you talk to a girl that's dating, or you talk to a girl that just broke up with a guy, or that broke up with a guy a long time ago and now she's with a husband. She complains about her husband and about the ex-boyfriend, and it's always their fault, And what I never understood is how they can't be logical, because when you're looking at somebody that's been with hundreds of guys, like they were in college and they were with like 100 guys every semester, and they say all men are bad. All men are evil, all men are horrible, all men are rapists, all men are just douchebags. And I would say this, if you think that all men are douchebags, maybe it's time that you turn that mirror towards yourself and thought about what you're doing. If all men are leaving you and you can't find a man to stay with you, and you're dating all these guys and fucking all these guys, and no man is hanging around you, and they're all leaving you, maybe you might want to look at something that you're doing. Maybe it's your fault, and that's something that women will never do. It's always your fault. It's always a man's fault. It's never something that I'm doing. I'm never being a bitch. I'm never being a shit tester. I'm never doing things wrong. It's always a man's fault.
Well, yeah, and going back to what Richard said, over here in England, I study something called Helbury's Laws of England, and this basically encompasses everything from agricultural laws to all the way down to Z. So what happened was anyone can ask me, I can send it to you privately or whatever. But over there, because I've learned this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, so studying Helbury's Laws of England, in particularly marriages, is under the sort of thing of a contract. So what it is when I studied that, it basically said that two parties, the man and the woman, go into a trilateral contract with the government. And what happens is, if one of the two parties, the man and the woman, breaks their agreement, they're going to be penalized and having to pay the government for that breaking of the agreement. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is, if I've got an agreement with Shi-Nu and I break the agreement, why is a third party coming in now to penalize me for some agreement that they didn't have anything to do with? Then it goes back further, because from my readings, it looks like if society was breaking down at some point and the government tried to instill some sort of morals into the society, and marriage was a place where you can have productivity. So feminism, I believe, is contra productivity, because if you can break down the family structure, you will have just pure decimation. You will have what you're having now. So even when people were getting married, you didn't even need a marriage license. You can have a common law marriage will still fuck you over. You can even just be cohabitating with a woman, and within 4 or 5 months of her living with you, she can call the cops and you'll be out on their arse. And I found this out back in the 90s, when a lot of guys used to talk to me about this stuff and the fights that we're going through. So it's like, a lot of the times when people say, why would feminists want marriage to break up? Because now you don't even need a binding contract to take the man to the cleaners now. You don't need that anymore. You just need the say-so of a woman. So if they destroy the whole idea of the marriage, the proper fundamental thing of a marriage, of holding families together, then you can do whatever you want with the children. And the family court systems in the UK, I've been privy to a few cases. I've gone to court with a few people. I've helped a few people out. Men have been decimated. Not all men. But if you haven't got money, you're decimated. You're just completely decimated. I can tell you horror stories of personal friends of mine. They're being taken through the cleaners. They're having to, like, not go into hiding, but fuck, they're finished. All from the say-so of a woman. I mean, a friend of mine now, a family friend, you know, is an ex-Orange CEO or a high up, you know, he lives in a mansion. He's in prison right now because he tried to discipline his daughter. And his wife started getting him, I mean, he was paying for it. They live in a castle, basically. Like, you've got a private road to get to their house. But he's in prison now. He should be coming out soon. But all because he wanted to discipline his daughter. And the wife started taking evidence of him disciplining his daughter. And now he's in prison. Even though, before he went to prison, they couldn't live in the house, the castle they had together. So he was still paying for an apartment that they had, whilst he hasn't got a job. It's just incredible. So the family court system is destroying people in the UK completely. Women are feeling it. They take the children, put them into these homes. These homes now get a certain money per capita for every child. Then now these children could be sold off wherever. They grow up fucked up, dysfunctional, no idea of unity, no idea of family. Bish bash bosh, you have life in 2016. Everyone is losing their fucking minds because they didn't have a family structure. Partly because of crony capitalism and feminism, if you want to say that.
I mean, this sounds like there's a real problem there, that there's a huge incentive to fuck things up because you can use the system to get so much money.
Well, it's the lazy, because what I've seen is a lot of these girls that have children, like with guys, when I was in school, they were basically giving these people flats and giving them money. So what will then happen to these girls, they'll be single, they have a child, that the guy doesn't want to be with them no more. So then the government will say, oh, well, you can have a flat. So they'll give these girls, I know some women now, they're paying something like, I don't know, £20 a month. I mean, I sent you that video over there, that's just something minor, but a lot of these girls is paying £20 a month and the government's looking after them. So then what happens is they have these children. If it's a boy, his life is fucked because he's never been disciplined. He doesn't know how to talk to men. If it's a girl, you know she's just going to have another child because it's fucking easy to get pregnant and just the government will give it to you. But what's actually going on now is the government can't afford all of these niceties anymore. So what's going to happen? So they're saying that over here, the welfare state is going to be destroyed by 2018. Well, you're going to see what happens in 2018, because all of these single females and whatnot, they're not going to be able to keep up the lies that everything is fine. But what happens is the children become displaced. Then this is how, you know, higher ups in the government molesting these boys and girls. You're having rape gangs all over the UK, molesting, all of these people getting in on drugs. It's terrible, and they pumping these kids full of drugs. They're doing all sorts of stuff to them, psychologists, psychiatrists. It's just a massive den of fuckery. And most of these women, they don't know because they don't see past tomorrow today. They're just putting their children in these situations, and they don't give a fuck. It's heartbreaking.
Well, when I look at a lot of the stuff, you know, most of the psychological studies that have been done in the last 50 years on children and spanking and stuff like that, it always ends up that they come up with this thing where you should never hit your kids. You know, that's not the way you should discipline your kids. But when you look at the fact that, you know, kids in the 50s and 40s were seen and not heard. You know, kids had enough respect for their elders to realize that if you shut the fuck up and sit down and listen to the elders talk, that you might actually learn something. Now they have no respect for themselves, they have no respect for their elders, they have no respect for women, they have no respect for men, and they just don't give a fuck. They're fucking entitled. And I believe that a lot of that came from that not hitting your kids, you know?
Yeah.
That kids don't learn respect anymore. You know, there's something that we found out not too long ago, actually, I think about 4 years ago, a study was done where we found out that when you look at prisons and you look at male and female prisons and you look at strippers, you'll see that 80% of strippers and 80% of men and women in prison were raised by single-parent homes. So if all men are evil and all men are fucked up, well then who in the fuck is raising them?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And
I think what's missing there is context. I mean, like, if you hit a child when it's done something wrong, and it's clearly a good opportunity for someone to be disciplined, then that's okay. I mean, I think they convolute that up with, you know, straight up abuse.
Yeah. Well, they say that any time you hit a kid is wrong. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And what they're doing
bullshit.
is they wanted to make it like illegal for a man to be a father. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make you feel bad for wanting to be a father. Like, fathers used to spank their kids, you know, like a kid would do something wrong and the mom would say, wait until your father gets home.
Yeah, but what's happened now is, that might have been in the 40s or 50s. What I've been seeing now, and, you know, I wouldn't say any studies, but a lot of the times if you have a single parent at home, it's the woman going fucking teetotal on this child. It's not the man. Yeah. Because a man that's got a child, he wouldn't go ballistic on the boy or the girl. He wouldn't go ballistic unless if the guy is suffering from abuse from the wife, abuse from the job, or some sort of fucked up situation. But if the father is not there and it's the mother disciplining these children, because there's no dads there, the women go fucking teetotal. They go complete teetotal, because you'll see from the young boys that I've spoken to, they act very like, they act feminine, like they have the way they talk is quite feminine. They don't know how to shut the fuck up. They don't know how to approach you in a way. One of my close friends, he has 2 sons, and the difference between his sons compared to some of the other children I know that are just boys with single mothers is that the boys with single mothers, they treat their mothers like second-rate citizens. They don't know how to say hello. They don't know how to, hi, how are you doing? When you speak to them, they sort of shy away and all of this sort of tomfoolery. So in this instant with my friend, my pal, I can see a correlation there. I've got to do the more research, that when the boys are being disciplined, not being battered, not being berated, not being locked under the closet, not being starved, you know, for fucking 2 weeks. We're not talking about this. We're just talking about a boy stepping out of place or a girl stepping out of place, and you're right, you're going to get spanked. You get spanked. Why do you get spanked? Because you did this. You don't do that. And then you explain to the child why. Then that child, they're now a context to, all right, I don't go into the middle of the road while cars are coming. I wait and I hold my dad's hand, or I wait and hold my mum's dad, and I look at my parents and get confirmation from them before I can even think about crossing the road. And I've got to look left, and I've got to look right. I've got to do all of these precautionary steps so that I don't get a spanking. But then when they grow up, they realize why. It's because if I would have done these things, I would have put myself in harm. So at 4 or 5, you might think, I shouldn't do this and this and this so I don't get a spanking. But in the future, when you understand properly, you realize why. And this is a lot of the stuff that all of these people are saying that they don't really like clarify. They just make it black and white. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And it gives the majority of people this idea, well, yeah, all men are like that. But wait a minute, if most families are single parent families, where's the man? Nowhere. So who's it got to be? The woman. Simple.
Yeah, who's training these men? You know,
the women.
And if she says, well, it was my boyfriend that did it. I've never been with a woman that allowed me. Most of the women that I've dated have had kids, and I've never been with a woman that allowed me to like discipline her kids. It was always her problem, and I just fucking wasn't able to like even say anything about her kids or anything because she's the mom and I'm not the father. So I wasn't able to do them. So all these fucking women who are like, well, it's because of my boyfriend or this, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, they'll always blame it on a man. It's always a man's fault. It's always going to be their partner's fault. It's never going to be a woman's fault. And when you look at a single-parent home, I still consider a single-parent home a woman that divorced the original husband or left the original boyfriend and is now hanging out with some other guy, and he's trying to take care of kids that aren't his. That's still a single-parent home to me. Because if you don't have your father, me being a child that was raised in a foster care system and being in a foster home and then adopted when I was 7, I know the feeling of not having a father in your life. And there's a difference between having a father and having a stepfather. And especially if you have a stepfather that treats you like a father and actually is allowed to treat you like a father would, but in 90% of the time that doesn't happen. The father is usually just there because of the mother. And he's just wanting to fuck the mother, and he goes out and works and does his job, and he doesn't have a lot of interaction with the kids the way he would if they were his kids, you know. So just because you have a father figure in your life doesn't mean you have a father. And the women love to starve boys, especially, of the ability to have a real father in their life. And I think that's part of the whole situation that's went on with feminism, is that's what they're trying to do. Feminists want to break down the structure that is family structure. They want to break that down and turn it into something that we should feel bad about. You know, men should feel bad that they want a wife and they want kids and they want a family, and they want to be able to, you know, train their kids and teach their kids and have a good life, and you should feel bad for that. That's what feminists want you to do. They want you to feel bad for that. You're trying to oppress women because you want a wife.
Now, the fucked up thing about what we're saying right here is, I don't know if any of you guys have ever studied Plato's Republic, but this is exactly what Plato was orchestrating with the higher-ups back then, that you should have a situation where boys or mothers will be able to give their children up to be looked after by the state and have no problem with it. It didn't work for a long time. I mean, this was like, what, how many years before even Jesus came on the scene? But what I'm basically trying to say is that whenever I see these sorts of things, it's a shock reminder of how perfectly that this thing is happening, and people, I wouldn't say, I blame people, because if we have people that believe that they are intelligent, they believe that they're well researched, how then could they let such an atrocity happen? Then a lot of people say, well, it's the government are doing this, they're putting this in the food. Yeah, but still, this individual says that they're fully functioning. If this individual cannot cope with life's shit test or whatever, put your hand up and say, listen, I can't cope, I don't think I should have a child, and go about your business. Create an organization that helps the needy. Create the organization that helps single fathers or single mothers. Don't be a part of the mess. But yet again, you know, it's funny, like Plato and all of these, you know, skullduggery classes, they did a very good job. Because women, yet again, women are used as useful idiots to just fuck shit up for everyone else. This is why, you know, the thing that I'm doing out in the future, you know, would be men only. And I don't give a fuck about if women find, oh, well, it's against women. Well, at the end of the day, we're creating wealth here. What are you doing apart from throwing fucking ad hominem attacks? It does nothing. This is why, you know, conversations about women, and if, you know, all women are like that or not, it doesn't even matter anymore. We're in a fucked up situation, all of us, black, white, whatever the fuck it is. Let's start doing something about it, or I'm fucking doing something. So a lot of the times it's shocking. A lot of children now, they're in fucked up situations, and the more they grow up, they're not going to have trust for anybody, and that's what's happening. There's no more trust. Look at me, I don't put my face on camera. Why? Not because I have, you know, I'm scared of anyone. It's just that why should I, you know, why should I grace people with the presence of having me, of seeing me? Like, there's no more trust. It's terrible. And if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. And this is what feminism in part is doing, and crony capitalism.
Well, you can see that in society as well. I mean, trusting other people in general is just going down the drain.
Yeah, and I would say,
at least where I live,
I would say, you know, morbidly, that it has a lot to do with feminism, and it has a lot to do with women.
I'll agree. I will agree. I'll agree. Why? Because a lot of the feminists that came out as first wave feminism, these are highly educated women. You would think that if you're so educated, you have a balanced idea of what will happen. You will take things into consideration. You take variables into consideration. Plus, if some of these women were so clever and they knew about statistics or maths, they will be able to come up like, right, this algorithm or the trajectory of this, it's not going to be for the good of all people. But yet again, these were the intellectuals, the single baby mother that lives in some obscure part of the world, either working class or middle class or upper middle class. They're morons. They don't know anything. They just chime sentiments of people that came before them. But yet again, it's the people that claim that they're intellectuals. They're the ones that are, you know, what's the word? Perpetually adding to this fucked up situation. And it is the women, because the guys are not around. You can't blame someone that's not around. You just can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then let's move on to that next topic. We're going to talk about the guys that we all know that hang off of some girl for 4 or 5 years, and even longer in some cases, sometimes 10 or 15 years. There's so many movies that I put in the video that I just did last week, where I talked about the movies that have came out with guys that are, you know, some girl that he met in high school, and, you know, 10 years later or 20 years later in the movie, he ends up marrying her or falling in love with her or something. You know, when you look at movies like When Harry Met Sally, you know, that's another movie, you know, where some guy met some girl out of college, and then he bumps into her for the next like 20 years, and then he finally ends up marrying her, you know, when she's hit the wall, you know. So this is something that a lot of guys and women, I think women are less likely to get involved in this, but a lot of guys end up getting caught up on one woman. And they think that, well, I really like her, and I think she's really pretty, and she seems really funny and smart, and blah, blah, blah. And they start talking to this woman for like, you know, 6 years, and this woman doesn't actually want anything to do with them, but she does want to use you for taking her out to movies and taking her out to dinner and buying her things. And she can call you up when she needs some money, if she needs to pay her cell phone bill and she doesn't have the money to do it. She can call you up and give you a sob story, and you'll give her some money to pay for her cell phone bill, all because you have the idea that someday all this is going to be able to be cashed in so that you can get a chance at that golden uterus, and it's never going to happen. And a lot of guys get caught up in this, and I have a friend that did the same thing, where he's been chasing after a girl, probably still now, chasing after a girl. He got her a job. He took her out to dinners. He's took her out to movies. He's been wining and dining her for 6 years. And this woman never fucked him, never kissed him, never did anything with him.
That's the worst position you can ever be in a car.
Yeah, it happens.
Taken for granted.
Yeah, I see
that
so
utility guy.
I see so many guys that get used, you know, that they don't realize that that's being used. You know, when you're, if you're in any, I can go into any city in the world, and within a 5-mile radius of me, I could find 1,000 women to fuck right now, in any city in the world. You know, I don't even have to be able to speak the language. There's guaranteed I could find somebody to fuck tonight if I wanted to. And these guys will get hung up on one girl that doesn't want anything to do with them, when there's thousands of women in that city that they live in that they could actually be married to or dating or fucking tonight. And they would rather tag after some girl that doesn't want anything to do with them and just wants to use them. And I almost think that I would take that back to maybe them and their relationship that they had with their mother, that maybe they have this need to take care of something that women have instilled in men, and that it's actually, it's like borderline psychological disorder, where these men can't think for themselves, and they can't think about themselves. They always have to think about somebody else, and they enjoy being in a relationship where they're being used. They enjoy being used. They enjoy feeling like they're never going to get what they want, and they're always on the precipice of thinking, maybe this girl is going to like me, or maybe tomorrow I can tell her I love her, maybe tomorrow she'll date me, maybe tomorrow we'll actually end up in the sack. And it never, ever, ever happens, and it's never going to happen. And it's really sad when you see these guys doing this stuff. And I've had several friends over my lifetime that end up like this, and I've always came in right behind them and just went up to the girl and said, look, you know, you're cute, let's fuck. And they say, okay, and they go fuck me. And that's all you have to do. That's how quick I turn it on and off. I'm like, if I want to fuck a girl, I just go up to her and say, look, I like you, I think you're cute, let's fuck. And if she says, no, I'm not into that, that's the last time I talk to her. There's so many women in the fucking world, you don't need to get hung up on one girl. There's a lot of women that just want to get fucked. And if you want to fuck some girl, you can find some girl to fuck. Stop getting hung up on these women that don't want anything to do with you.
Society brought up on Disney comics.
Yeah.
one day I'll get that chance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a Disney complex. They grow up. It's the movies. It's the reality that we have now, where lots of men feel from watching all these different movies that they can eventually get her, because it happened in a movie. So if I just do this and I just do this, and there was a movie called Hitch, where this happened. Basically, that was the premise of the movie. It had Will Smith in it, you know, and that's basically the premise of that movie. Is like you know, you would have some girl that you really liked that really didn't notice you, and Will Smith would help you do the right things so that she would think that you were a great guy and she would actually want to date you, and she would
Yeah, he
actually
was kind of a pickup guy in that movie, right?
yeah, she would actually trick her into getting you out of the friend zone, and he would teach you how to do that. And so these guys think like, oh well, I can do that stuff to my friend that I have, that I want to fuck her and I really want to date her, and I've been friends with her now for 10 years, and really I want her to marry me. I want her to be my girlfriend or something like this. So if I just do what he said, she'll eventually like be with me. And they don't realize that's a fucking movie. That's not reality. In reality, you're just a utility, and she's never going to let you fuck her. She's going to use you until you're tired of being used, and you're going to go on your merry way. And she's got 3 other guys she does the exact same thing she does to you. They do that here in Japan. They have girls that they have a guy that takes them out to the movies. They have another guy that they go out to eat with. They have another guy that they only fuck. And they have another guy that they date, that they try to convince that they're a good girl and that they never have sex with, and he's dating her because he thinks he's going to marry her someday, and she's convincing him that maybe they are going to get married. But while he's doing this, he doesn't realize that there's another guy that's fucking her, and there's 2 other guys that are taking her out and buying her purses and Louis Vuittons, taking her out to movies, taking her out to dinner, while this guy thinks she's a good girl and that she's not fucking anybody. And this is the crazy, fucked up world that we're living in right now.
It is, and the thing is, I've had girls like that. Like I was that person that chased after women for a few years. The thing is, like when they start seeing other guys, I'm like, okay, what the fuck did this guy do to get her? I've been the one chasing her for so long, and I decide, fuck it, it's not worth it. And then the funny thing is, like a couple of years down the road, they try to talk to me, they try to hit on me. I'm like, fuck off, and they don't know why I'm not interested in them anymore. And we've never had a conversation like where they ask me, hey, you used to be interested in me. What happened? I'm like, because you went after other dudes. Like, well, yeah, I didn't know. They give me this bullshit like, I didn't know you were into me. I'm like, bullshit, yes you did. You just decided someone else was better.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll come back to you when it's like, when they've hit the wall.
It's all used up.
Yeah, exactly. When they've hit the wall and nobody else wants them, that's why women do this. Is they get a lot of guys. They're like dominoes. They get a lot of guys that will take care of them, and they're basically just using you as a utility and seeing how much you will give them before you get tired of them. And eventually, they keep you around just in case they need a shoulder to cry on. And someday, when they're all used up and when nobody wants them anymore and you're still there, they might give you a chance at the golden uterus, but by then you're not really going to want it because it's all going to be used up. And
no, those girls weren't used up. The ones I was talking about, they were still pretty young. The reason they became interested in me was because I think their parents were like, okay, you need to find a guy who's not a fucking biker with a bajillion tattoos on them.
Yeah. Well, I'm not only talking about being used up in the way of like they're like 45. I'm talking about emotionally, that philosophically used up. That a lot of these women are emotionally bankrupt. They're just there's nothing to them. They're so shallow. There's nothing there. And these women get like this over several years of being with men and fucking them up and fucking them over. And they get more and more callous and more shallow, and this is what I'm talking about when I say they're like that, that it's not that they're 45, it's that they're 25 and they act like they're 60, They're so calloused, and they don't give a fuck about a guy, and they treat you like shit, and they think that they deserve to be treated better, yet they don't deserve to have to treat anyone else better, you know? And that's what I'm talking about. These girls are emotionally bankrupt.
Well, you can see that perfectly as you're finding 18-year-old girls that are doing like Botox and all sorts of shit. You think, huh? How? Because what Shi-Nu is saying is right, and even though these women might not be 45 or 35 or 55, it's happening progressively, like now. Because why else would you see someone like Kylie Jenner or something? I mean, look at her, perfect example. More and more young women that I know are having these things done, getting their vaginas done and all of this sort of shit. You think to yourself, wait a minute, you're in your early 20s. Wait until you're around, I don't know, fucking 60 or 70 to do it. So you can see how the shallowness and the low self-esteem is creeping in a lot more. And Shi-Nu, I've experienced what Shi-Nu's saying. These women, after a while, then they'll turn to you, their parents saying all of this shit to them. Now they look at you. Oh, well, you know, I didn't know this. Because they are callous. It's not, I don't see it as a negative thing, but I just laugh because that's when you can really, manipulate them if you wanted. Sleep with all of their friends, they can give you money, they all know about it, and what they're going to say, all you can say is, well, you emotionally fucked me up 10 years ago, now I can't get over it, give me a cuddle. I mean, God, it works whichever way you want to make it work, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never had the time to deal with women like that. I'm kind of like I've never dated a woman that I wanted to sleep with longer than 3 dates and not fucked them. If I don't fuck a girl within like the first 3 dates, I'm gone. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not going to work for it. It's not worth working for.
Guys, they're waiting 2 months to sleep with a woman. I'm like, are you taking the piss?
No,
she's not a virgin.
Gone. Gone. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. First of all, I'm not gonna tag after a woman for 6, like Hermine was talking about. I'm not gonna tag after a woman for a year to sleep with her and find out she sucks, because you're wasting your time. I want to see if she's good in bed. I want to see if she's good at sucking dick. I want to see how she is in bed, and she should want to see how I am in bed to find out if she even wants to hang out with me. They're like, oh, well, I want a friendship, and I want to, there's more to life than sex and all this stuff. No, there's not. When I did psychology, when I was doing my psychology dissertations in college, and I did marital counseling, the #1 cause of divorce is sex. So it's obviously a very big thing. Everybody that came into my office that talked to me about their divorce or why they were getting a divorce, it always devolved into sexual. So sex is a very big part of the relationship. So if you're having bad sex, that's going to end the relationship. And women need to start to realize that sex is a huge part of the relationship. And if you're going to act like Hermine and make a guy tag after you for 4 years and not even give him a hand job, and then expect him to not tell you you suck in bed, and then he cheats on you and goes and sleeps with somebody else or leaves you for some hot chick because she fucked him like in the first night they met, and then you can't believe that happened. Of course it's going to happen. You need to understand that these women don't want to. They have no, it's like they're living in like another reality. Like they don't realize that this isn't the way humans operate. Men want to fuck women, women want to fuck men. So why are you holding it out on these guys? And if you're a guy, why would you want to hang around with a girl for 6 months, take her out on dates, take her out on 100 dates, and take her to the movies and spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on her, and she's not even going to let you do anything more than hold her hand and maybe kiss her? Fuck that.
I think a lot of these guys think that if I don't have sex with her in the first 2 months, the first 3 months, then it shows that she's virtuous. But what I'm trying to tell a lot, even my nephew, he was going out with a girl, and he said, she hasn't let me have sex with her, but she sucked my dick and I came in her mouth. I said, get the fuck out of here. That's not a virgin. Don't take the piss. Oh, well, you know, she's a good girl. I said, get the fuck. I said, dude, come on. Come on.
I will guarantee that your friend that you're talking about, that when he's not with her, she's got some black guy's dick up her ass. No. She's always, those girls are always like that. They're acting like they're good girls, and when you're not looking, they're out at their bar with their friends getting fucked by some other guy and then telling you they're a good girl.
Well, I know this, and the thing about it was I was trying to tell him this, and he didn't want to believe until, like, he found out this snake guy that he knew from university was, you know, getting up in the DMs, and, like, you know, and I saw that some of these young pups, they just don't know who their enemies are. So basically what happened was, he even helped this guy do some dissertation. This guy was, I think, some small-time drug dealer. But anyway, she left, right, and she was basically telling him that she can't be with him because of religious purposes. Like, he's not even a Muslim, but he is a Muslim, but he doesn't practice it. She's a Christian. But I'm saying to him, wait a minute, she sucked you off, you came in her mouth, she hasn't let you have sex with her. Now she's swinging on the dick of this other guy that is well known to be a drug dealer, who's driving around a brand new BMW. I said, and you still think this girl's virtuous? And she's using this whole ploy of, oh, my mum wants me to be with a good Christian boy. The fuck is she's dating now as a drug dealer? Plus, this guy broke up with her. So a lot of the time, a lot of guys, doesn't really matter what age, they're under some fucked up delusion. They're under the and I think actually you need to you and he might whatever, you two need to talk. Like, you brought up this woman's name a couple of times.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, I thought she was kind of a cool person, and but she was like religious and all this kind of stuff. So there's a bunch of stuff that pissed me off, but it was kind of like fun to talk with her because she was kind of like everything I thought. She thought the exact opposite, and I thought it was kind of funny. But then it devolved when she was on our show. I let her come on the show to kind of see what she was really thinking, and I knew that you guys could like fucking take her down a notch.
Well,
and it didn't. But then, like I said, 3 weeks later, when she came on that show and started talking about how she does with men, I immediately was like, oh shit, no wonder, you know, when I realized how she really was.
We're gonna have to speak in private about this, Shi-Nu, yeah? Because what happened was before that, you know, Google Hangout happened, I knew you were sort of like showing to a certain level that you had a gripe with her, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't right. You were showing before the thing. Yeah, I'm inviting Hermione because I knew it sounds like he's got it in for her, right? Then when you gone on the,
I wanted you guys to give her a smackdown.
Yeah, I knew that's what you wanted. I knew, and I just thought to myself, and I knew that Optimus Christ was ready to go. But as soon as he came on, and I saw the color hue that she had, I realized what was going on. And then when I heard her first sentence, I said, this woman poses no threat. I don't know what she said to Shi-Nu. This, what you shouldn't even take, you shouldn't, whatever she says, all of this, I'm a Christian, this is all bollocks. This is all bollocks. Go to play, you've been with a Spanish woman. They're high, so religious, all Catholic, you know, even Islam. All of these people are depraved. They're doing all sorts of shenanigans, but it's all a mask. These virtuous Madonna whore complex. Look at me. I've saved myself for the perfect man. She's been getting backdoored for the past 8 years. All of these Arab women, they're in their 50s. My sister's telling me how they're going into sex clinics and they're asking, do you have vaginal sex? These women are sticking their nose up. We don't do that. We're straight anal. These are Arab women. All of this haunts about women being virtuous. People should get a fucking life. Like, they're not that special. But with Hermione, when she said she was, you know, I saw her complexion, she was Christian. Look, black women are highly narcissistic, mate. That's why, you know, orange is the new black.
All women are all women are narcissistic.
Yeah, but with black, look, this is why I said we should have talks in private if you really want to go there, dude. Look, the government or this idea of, you know, the golden vagina, whatever the hell anyone wants to put it. They've done a number on black women. Like these black, I mean, look at Beyonce. Look at Beyonce. I mean, it's insane. It's just completely insane. And this is another thing I want to talk about on one of my videos. I might do a song about it. This whole idea of an alpha male. No, no, no. In 2016, an alpha male has no place if he's surrounded by women or manginas. He can't be an alpha male.
No.
He can't be, because he'll get ripped apart.
Well, the problem is to be an alpha, you have to basically be the leader of a pack, you know. And the problem is there is no more male. There's no followers. There's these guys that are kind of walking around aimlessly that are like, you know, they have no knowledge of what they need to do. They're just kind of wandering around aimlessly. It's like watching guys play football that are like blind and they're just wandering around the fucking pitch with the football. They're not running after each other. They're just kind of wandering around feeling for like the guy with the ball. You know, that's basically what we're looking at now, and you're trying to be the leader of that. You know, basically that's what it is. They're wanting to be like, they're like, oh, I'm like the alpha male. Well, you're the alpha male on a pitch of blind guys playing football that are just walking around searching for the guy with the ball. You know, you can't be an alpha in that situation.
No, you can't. But even more removed from that is when you find someone like, you know, someone's running around the pitch playing football. That's not an alpha male. He can be jacked up on steroids. He can have testosterone coming out of, I don't know, fucking God's mouth or something. This guy's not an alpha male because he's just a pawn. He's playing on the pitch. But when you have the president of the company, a billionaire, and he's been taken to court by a woman, look at all of the stories that have come out. How comes people still, like, people say they wish they were Jay-Z? I don't know why. Because he's got money, he's got Beyonce. Please, Jay-Z's obviously not an alpha male. All of these guys, all of these billionaires, what was the last guy, the guy that got taken to the cleaners by this Hispanic girl a couple of years ago? He wasn't an alpha male, because if he was an alpha male, he would have not let that happen. None of these guys are alpha males. Look, I've been telling look, the alpha male is nothing more than an idea. Because the reality is, in a PC world, you're fucked. and if your business model is like linked to, like, you know, like employing minorities, women, manginas, and all of that sort of stuff, you wouldn't be able to be an alpha male.
Well, I don't understand these women who think that because they were some guy's cum dumpster for 7 years, that entitles them to over half of the wealth in the relationship. You know, when he had a company and he built it up from scratch, and maybe you were married to him while he did that, and you were together for 8 years or something, and he was in college when he met you, and all you did was have his kids and fuck him for 10 years and maybe take care of his house, and now he went from being worth like $20,000 to now he's worth like $150 million. Well, now you're entitled to $75 million because you were his cum dumpster for 7 years. You know,
those guys should have had a prenup.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense, you know, that these women and the courts allow this to happen. That they allow this to happen. To, like, you have to give her the house, all of the cars, the kids, and $75 million. And they're like, oh, that's perfectly fair. You know? And they're fucking living in some dreamland. You know, sorry, your golden uterus isn't worth that much.
Well, as I said before,
there ain't no pussy I've ever met that's worth $75 million.
Yeah. As I said before, I don't know if I'm bothered because I've left that part of my life behind, but I can actually, like, do a forensic sort of like fact check of why women are making money like that. But I just think it's another way of, like, the brokers, the lawyers, accountants, just basically pilfering money from the man, transferring it to the woman, but only giving the women a pittance. So they're getting all of these sort of fees. That I believe greatly from my research, that's part of the issue. And secondly, from what you said, Richard, I mean, prenups don't mean anything nowadays.
No, they don't. In a lot of cases, they don't apply.
They don't apply.
At least in the U.S., there are certain things you can't be protected against. I mean, laws differs a little bit in different places, but it probably help a little bit. But you know, it's not a bulletproof thing.
No. You've got to be wealthy. You've got to have lawyers that are powerful. You've got to be in it with the judges. You've got to be in it with the loopholes. You've got to set up secret trust accounts, constructive trust, and then you just got to pay the woman off. Give her a gagging. You know, in the UK, if something happens, they've got a gagging order. No one's saying anything. If you utter a word, you'll be picked up in the middle of the night and sent to a private prison and beaten. That's what's going on. That's what's going on in the UK. I'm telling you. I know a guy. He was picked up. He was trying to start up a people's bank over here, which I knew was bullshit because you can do it easy. It's not that difficult. This guy, he was picked up in the middle of the night, taken away for 6 or 7 days against his will. As he came out of prison, it's not been the same. No more pushing his, no more energy, no more fire in his belly. So all of these prenups, no more alpha males. No more alpha males. Sorry, guys.
The thing is, probably have it in a way that on paper it doesn't look like you really own anything, like most really rich people do.
There you go.
But they have tons of resources.
Exactly. And that's how it is. There you go. That's what we're talking about. This is why I want more and more men. Leave the triviality of a woman's vagina where it belongs. And let's start getting to seriousness of wealth generation. That's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, when you have a child with a woman, even if you get married, you're still going to be looked at as the provider. You're going to have to do something to feed yourself, to feed her, to clothe the children. And if you don't have any resources, if you don't join the dark side, you can forget about it. But yet again, this is what socialist feminism has done. Everyone's got to be the same. Let's live in a commune together. Kumbaya. Every man can father it. Every man can look after another man's child. If not, the government will do it. Oh, please.
I think that idea is about to die pretty soon.
I think that's why women are so worried. When you look at the over $1 billion industry, there's like a $4 billion industry a year in the world for sex toys and sex things, and 90% of those sex toys are purchased by women. And they're getting scared right now because China and all these other countries are coming up with these sex dolls that are lifelike and things like that. And there's still a long way to go with them. But lots of guys in Japan are getting really excited about these dolls because they can buy a sex doll and never have to deal with a woman again in their life. And that's what these guys are looking at. And women are worried about that because if that happens, lots of guys will go offline and they will never want to be with a woman again, because if you don't have to deal with all their bullshit, why would you? And really they want to act like it's not the case, but it is the case. The only thing you can get out of a woman that is worth having a woman for, and in most cases it's not even worth that, is sex. That's all they're good for, is sex. So if they want to look at reality, that's the reality. And if all you want is a companion, which you can get a dog or a cat or a gerbil or whatever the fuck you want to get, and you can get a sex doll. So you come home, you get your rocks off, you sit on the couch and watch Netflix and pet your dog. That's all you need. That's all you need in life. And girls are freaked out and worried that that's what's going to happen. All the men are going to turn MGTOW if they come up with some really nice things. Because instead of paying, $10,000 for 6 years to fucking tag after some girl that doesn't even want you, you can spend $10,000, get a supermodel looking fembot, and then fuck her every night whenever the fuck you feel like it.
Well, the idea is good, but I don't think a majority of people, I believe, will always want to opt out. So if women behave themselves now, majority of guys will just happily go back and, she's going to start cleaning, she's going to start washing. We're going to just go back to how it was. I don't know. I wasn't here 100 years ago, but how it was 200 years ago, supposedly, or some bullshit like that. And even if men started having fembots, I don't think it's gonna, because what will happen unless if the men were highly productive, because you're still gonna have society needing guys to do stuff. I mean, I've seen sort of documentaries of people in some far off islands or whatever, and like the men don't do fuck all and the women do everything. The society is completely fucked. The men are lazy because the men don't want to do anything, but there's no productivity. So if you have now, the majority of men now, I see them as fucking lazy bastards. What will happen is if they have fembots or whatever, just like them having a fucking computer game, they're content with it. They're not going to try and go out to be innovators of anything. I've got my fembot, I can fuck her whenever I want. She cooks, she cleans, she sucks my dick, she scratches my back. I don't need a woman. But yet again, these individuals with a mindset like that, if they have a mindset like that, they're not going to be productive. So society, I don't think, will get any better. It will just be a situation where men will go off over there, women will go off over there, because if you don't have with men, if you have a fembot or a robot that doesn't need you to do anything for them, well, how's society going to be? We know that to a certain point, society is made because men want to try to make things nice for other women. I mean, for women, not for other men. So how are you going to have productivity?
Well, that's what I think that's actually going to be a good thing. I think that's what needs to happen. I think society is being built up so much and catering so much to females that it needs to stop. And I think that would help. That would help.
I believe so. Unless if there's, I think so. But unless if that, well, me personally, I don't get my feelings involved with women. But I don't know how fembots are. But all I'm just saying is that it'll be good, but I don't think there'll be any I'll always be productive. But the majority of men are so unproductive. I don't see they'll just be happy to just scratch their ass, lazy bastards, So it might be a good thing. Who knows? We'll wait and see if it happens in our lifetime. If you have perfect fembots, just gorgeous, woo, that might be a good thing. They look and feel like a real woman. You can't even tell. That'll be a good thing.
I heard some guys also talk about like an artificial uterus, so you can just stick your sperm in that and don't have to deal with a woman at all.
Only if men could just grab the girls that they wanted, say, listen, babe, or listen, woman, I'm gonna fuck ya, we're off. That'll be it. These women will be happy, the guys will be happy. Right, bend over, darling. Show me your pink bits. Bish, bash, bosh, Everything, like, go to the extent. Yeah, going to the extent of these robots. There's a way of men, I think a lot of men are just carrying. They're just carrying away, she'll shout at me. Fuck it. Let her slap you. Who cares? Now you slap me, darling. I'm still bending you over. Bish, bash. But hey, whatever. But you've got to sort things out with Hermione. You've got to talk to her, Shi-Nu. You've got to have a word.
Yeah, I don't even care. She says she's not a feminist. She's a humanist. Oh. But that's just fucking retarded. It don't mean anything different. She's still a fucking retarded.
At first, I got the idea that a lot of people who were into the feminist movement but realized it was kind of shitty went over to calling themselves humanists instead. But yeah, it's probably filled with the same people, possibly.
Of course. Because if she was a humanist, why wouldn't she understand or believe that some men will pretend to, come when they're with a woman? Why would some of these humanists, why can't they believe that it's possible for a man to get molested by a woman?
I think it's just going to be a case of, as soon as feminist is worn out, humanist is going to be the new thing. I don't know. Possibly.
possibly.
Probably it's that way already for some.
People, I believe people should just stop labeling each other because it's just a different label. Oh, instead of calling someone an arsehole, he's a wanker, alright? You just don't like him. Yeah, okay. Just say you don't like the guy. he's not an arsehole. He's what's it called? What other word can you use? Whatever the hell the word is. He's combative or something. You just don't like the guy. You just don't like the woman. It's simple. Stop trying to hide behind words and labels. But
well, you can see a lot in the words that people use. You know, women are always talking about feminism is about equality. Well, if it's about equality, then why is there fem in the word? That's not equal. That's not equality. There's no equality there. When you have a singular gender that you're talking about, that's not about equality.
They probably have a really skewed, mindset of what equality is anyway. But
yeah, well, of course they do. That's what they don't want equality. They want superiority. Feminism isn't about equality. It never has been. It's been about gender superiority.
Have you heard about your friend Ronda Rousey? She's signed for a couple of movies. I don't think she's getting back to the UFC.
Yeah.
So much of that.
Well, she lost her status as being like the amazing woman,
And the thing is, Holly Holm, I knew she doesn't have championship qualities. What's her name beat her? Just like that, easily. A woman that Ronda Rousey's battered so many times, I can't remember her name. But Holly Holm couldn't even... So Ronda now, not getting beat up by another woman. I'm just going to go start movies. Yet again, what do the feminazis, what do they have to say about this? They keep propping up these women, just like a Beyonce, just like a Madonna, just like a whoever the fuck it is. They prop up these women, and when these women don't deliver, poof, like a fart in the wind. That's why I believe men shouldn't take women too seriously. It's not that much of a big deal, dude. Not that much of a big deal.
Yeah, I do agree
with you on that.
I think that's also what really scares a lot of women, and they act like it doesn't, but I think it really does scare a lot of feminists and a lot of women like Hermine, where they see men going their own way, and it's kind of like when you speak with religious people and tell them you're an atheist. They don't understand that. I talked with some the other day on Nadia's Hangouts, and they don't understand that atheism is not a system of belief. They kept trying to argue that atheism is a system of belief, and they couldn't get it through their head that atheism is a system of non-belief. And it's a singular belief that there is no gods. And that's all. There's other things that could be had from that you can say that somebody got to that by something. But if you ask somebody if they're religious and you say, no, I'm atheist, that's a singular statement, And a lot of these females have this idea that when you say you're MGTOW, or you're going your own way or something, they don't understand that. They can't get that through their head. They don't understand that means you don't want anything to do with women. They can't look at it as women have done something wrong, or all women are doing something wrong. It's just because a few women that hurt you are doing something wrong, And in most cases, it's not only the women that have hurt me, because a lot of women haven't hurt me. I won't allow it. It's just I became pervy to the idea of what's really going on in the situation, and I've seen women hurt my friends, and because of that, I've decided to look the other way and not be with women, and they can't get that through their head that there's a reason for that, That could only be because you're not a man. They look at it like that. She even said that you're not a man, and then they equate it. They try to make other women feel like that's the case by saying, oh, well, they just they hate women.
Well, did Hermione say that you're not a man?
Because if you're not into women and you think all women are bad, You know, and they say basically they equate it to you hate all women, and it's not that I don't hate all women. I just don't have time for their bullshit. It's not about hating them. It's about reality. In reality, women are fucking horrible people, and they treat men like shit, and they expect men to be happy that they're treating you like shit, and I don't have fucking time for it. And that's not hate. That's just reality. That's what life is. Life is women trying to use you as a utility, and I'm not going to be used by a fucking woman. So that's not hating. That's just realizing what happens to men and what's happened to most men and not wanting to be a part of it.
Nothing wrong in that.